Rain fell in thin, slanted lines, turning the highway into a shimmering stretch of blurred lights and restless shadows. The rhythmic swipe of the windshield wipers filled the car, steady but never quite fast enough to keep the glass clear. Amir leaned forward slightly, his tired eyes fixed on the road ahead, shoulders tense from a long day that refused to end. The world outside looked distant, almost unreal, streetlights bending into golden streaks, passing cars reduced to ghostly flashes. Inside the car, however, everything felt small, quiet, contained. Familiar. In the back seat, Hira slept curled on her side, her tiny fingers wrapped around a worn teddy bear that had once been bright pink but had faded into something softer over time. Her dark hair covered part of her face, rising and falling gently with each breath. Amir glanced at her in the rearview mirror, just for a moment, and something in his expression softened. No matter how exhausting life became, that sight grounded him. Almost home, he murmured, though she couldn't hear him. The heater hummed faintly, pushing warm air through the car, but it did little to chase away the fatigue settling deep in his bones. 2 shifts at work, a delayed paycheck, a call from the school about fees, it all stacked quietly in his mind. He didn't complain. There was no one to complain to anymore. Life had become a simple equation: keep moving, keep providing, don't fall apart. A sudden flicker near the roadside snapped him out of his thoughts. At first, he thought it was just debris, maybe a plastic bag caught in the wind, but then it moved again. Slower this time. Unsteady. Amir narrowed his eyes, instinctively easing his foot off the accelerator. The headlights stretched forward, illuminating the shoulder of the road, and then her. A woman. She stood a few feet from the asphalt, swaying slightly as if she might collapse at any moment. Her white dress clung to her body, soaked through, torn at the hem and along one sleeve. Mud stained the fabric, streaking upward as if she had fallen more than once. Her bare arms wrapped tightly around herself, but it did little to shield her from the cold rain. For a moment, Amir's hands tightened on the steering wheel. This didn't look right. People didn't end up here like this, not without a story behind it. And stories like that often came with trouble. He knew better than most that stopping on a road like this, at night, could lead to consequences he couldn't afford. His gaze flicked to the rearview mirror again. Hira. She shifted slightly in her sleep, murmuring something unintelligible, still lost in dreams. Amir exhaled slowly, his mind racing through possibilities. Keep driving. It's safer. Someone else will help. It's not your problem. But even as those thoughts formed, they felt hollow. The woman lifted her head. Their eyes met, just for a second. That was all it took. There was no mistaking the look on her face. It wasn't just fear. It wasn't confusion or anger or even shock. It was desperation. The kind that stripped everything else away. The kind that didn't leave room for pride or pretense. A silent plea that didn't need words. Amir cursed under his breath and tapped the brakes. The car slowed, then rolled to a stop a few meters ahead of her. For a brief moment, he just sat there, fingers still gripping the wheel, as if giving himself one last chance to change his mind. Then he reached over and unlocked the passenger door. The soft click sounded louder than it should have. In the side mirror, he watched her hesitate. She didn't run toward the car immediately. Instead, she took a cautious step forward, then another, as if unsure whether this was real, or safe. The rain continued to fall around her, flattening her hair against her face. When she finally reached the door, she paused again. Up close, the details were clearer. The dress wasn't just white, it had once been beautiful. Fine lace traced the sleeves, delicate embroidery along the neckline. Even ruined, it carried a kind of elegance that didn't belong on a deserted roadside. She opened the door slowly and slipped inside, shutting it quickly behind her as if afraid the outside world might rush in after her. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. The sound of rain softened against the car's roof, muted now. The warmth inside wrapped around her, and she let out a small, unsteady breath, as if she had been holding it for too long. "Thank you," she said finally, her voice quiet and trembling. Amir nodded once, eyes still on the road ahead. "Where are you going?" She hesitated. I don't know." He turned his head slightly, studying her for the first time. "You don't know." Her hands tightened in her lap. "Just away from here." There was something in the way she said it that made further questions feel unnecessary. Still, Amir couldn't ignore the unease creeping in. He pulled the car back onto the road, the tires hissing against the wet surface. "You run into trouble?" he asked after a moment. A faint, almost ironic smile touched her lips, though it didn't reach her eyes. "You could say that." Silence settled again, heavier this time. From the back seat came a soft rustle. Abu, Hira's sleepy voice cut through the tension. She shifted, rubbing her eyes as she pushed herself up slightly, blinking toward the front of the car. Amir's tone changed instantly, gentler. It's okay, Beta. Go back to sleep. But Hira's gaze had already landed on the stranger. Who is that? She asked, her voice thick with sleep but full of curiosity. The woman froze, as if unsure how to respond. Amir offered a small smile. She needed some help. Hira tilted her head, studying the woman with innocent honesty. Why is your dress broken? The question hung in the air. For a moment, the woman didn't answer. Her composure wavered, something fragile surfacing beneath the surface. I ran away, she said softly. Hira seemed to consider that deeply, her small brows knitting together. Then she gave a simple nod, as if that explanation was enough. Okay, she murmured, hugging her teddy closer before sinking back into the seat. Within seconds, her breathing steadied again. The woman let out a quiet, shaky exhale, her shoulders dropping slightly. That brief, uncomplicated acceptance seemed to affect her more than anything else. Amir noticed. You're safe here, he said, his voice calm, steady. She turned toward him, surprise flickering across her face. You don't even know me. He kept his eyes on the road. I know enough. For the first time, a hint of warmth returned to her expression. Not quite a smile, but something close. Outside, the rain continued its quiet assault on the darkness. Then, faint at first, a new sound emerged. Low, distant, engines. Amir's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror. Far behind them, two sets of headlights appeared, cutting sharply through the rain. They were moving fast, faster than any normal traffic on this road. Too fast. He watched as they grew larger, closer, more defined. Black SUVs. Something about the way they moved, controlled, deliberate, sent a ripple of tension through him. Beside him, the woman turned slightly, following his gaze. The moment she saw them, all the color drained from her face. Her breath caught, sharp and sudden. They found me. The headlights burned brighter in the rearview mirror, cutting through the rain with a sharp, relentless intensity. Amir's fingers tightened around the steering wheel, his knuckles paling as instinct took over. He didn't need an explanation to understand one thing, those vehicles weren't just passing by. They were coming for her. Beside him, the woman had gone rigid, her earlier composure shattered. She twisted in her seat to look back again, as if hoping she was mistaken, but the truth only grew clearer with every passing second. The black SUVs moved with purpose, their speed controlled, their formation tight. They're too close, she whispered, panic rising in her voice. Please, don't stop. Whatever you do, don't stop. Amir's gaze flicked between the road ahead and the mirror. Who exactly is chasing you? My fiancé's security, she said, her voice trembling. They won't let me go. There was something chilling in the certainty of her words. Not fear of being caught alone, but fear of what came after. Amir pressed his foot down on the accelerator. The engine responded with a low growl as the car surged forward, tires gripping the slick road as best as they could. You're going to have to explain, he said, his tone calm but firm. Because right now, this looks very bad. She swallowed hard, her hands gripping the edge of her seat. The wedding was today. Amir blinked, glancing briefly at her torn white dress, the lace, the mud, the ruin of something that had clearly once been perfect. You're serious. I ran before the ceremony, she said. I couldn't do it. I tried. I really tried, but I couldn't breathe. It felt like, she stopped, shaking her head. Like my life was already decided, and I didn't matter in it at all. The SUVs gained ground. Rain sprayed outward as they sped closer, their headlights now filling most of the mirror. Amir's jaw tightened. And they sent a whole team after you. They don't see it as running away, she said bitterly. They see it as a problem to fix. A sharp curve appeared ahead, the road narrowing as it led toward older streets, less maintained, less traveled. Amir made a quick decision. Hold on. He turned the wheel hard. The car veered off the main road, tires skidding slightly before catching grip again. The sudden motion jolted the woman, forcing her to brace herself against the dashboard. Behind them, one of the SUVs overshot slightly before correcting course. The other followed, slower now, more cautious. They're still coming, she said, her voice tightening. I know. Amir's eyes scanned the road ahead, his mind working quickly. He knew these streets. Not perfectly, but enough. Narrow lanes, sharp turns, unexpected dead ends. The kind of place where speed mattered less than familiarity. Why are you helping me? She asked suddenly, her voice cracking under the weight of everything. You have a child in the car. You should have just left me there. For a moment, he didn't answer. The road dipped, then split into two uneven paths. Amir chose the darker one without hesitation. I've been in situations, he said finally, his voice quieter now, where I wished someone would just stop. Even for a second. She looked at him, something shifting in her expression. And no one did. She asked softly. He didn't respond directly. You learn to survive anyway. The implication lingered. Behind them, the SUVs struggled with the tighter turns, their size working against them. One clipped the edge of a puddle, sending water spraying violently to the sides. Their speed dropped, but they didn't give up. Amir exhaled slowly, steadying himself. Stay low, he said. The woman nodded instinctively, ducking slightly as if that alone could make her less visible. Another turn, then another. The streets grew narrower, lined with aging buildings and dim streetlights that flickered as if unsure whether to stay alive. The rain softened slightly, but the tension in the car only grew. In the back seat, Hira shifted again, letting out a small sigh in her sleep. The normalcy of it, so out of place in this moment, hit Amir harder than anything else. He couldn't let this go wrong. Not with her here. He made another sharp turn, this time into an almost hidden side lane, barely wide enough for the car. The tires splashed through shallow water as the vehicle slowed just enough to navigate the tight space. The SUVs thundered past the intersection behind them. Neither turned. Amir kept driving for a few more seconds, just in case. Then, when he was sure they were no longer visible, he eased his foot off the accelerator. Silence fell. Not complete silence, the rain still whispered against the car, the engine hummed softly, but the immediate threat was gone. For now. He pulled over beneath a dim street lamp, its weak yellow light casting long shadows across the wet pavement. We lost them, he said, his voice steady again. The woman didn't respond immediately. She sat frozen, her body still tense, as if expecting the SUVs to reappear at any second. Her breathing was uneven, shallow, her eyes fixed on nothing. They're gone, she asked after a moment, almost afraid of the answer. For now, Amir said. They didn't see us turn. That was enough. The tension snapped. She brought her hands to her face, and the tears came suddenly, quiet at first, then deeper, heavier. Not loud or dramatic, but overwhelming in their intensity. The kind of crying that came from holding too much in for too long. Amir looked away, giving her what little privacy he could in the confined space. Minutes passed. Slowly, her breathing steadied. She wiped her face, though the tears didn't fully stop. My name is Sarah, she said finally, her voice fragile but clearer now. Amir, he replied with a small nod. She glanced at him, studying him properly for the first time, not just as a stranger, but as someone who had just risked something for her. You should know what you got involved in, she said. Amir raised an eyebrow slightly. Should I be worried? A faint, tired smile crossed her face. Probably. She took a breath. My father owns one of the largest construction groups in the country, she said. And the man I was supposed to marry, his family controls the rest. Amir let out a low whistle, leaning back slightly. So this isn't just a wedding. No, she said. It's a merger. The word hung in the air, cold and precise. They've been planning it for years, she continued. Everything was decided, contracts, shares, appearances. Even where we'd live. I was just, she paused. Part of the agreement. Amir studied her quietly. And you couldn't go through with it. She shook her head. I felt like I was disappearing. There was no drama in her voice now. Just truth. He nodded once. That's reason enough. She blinked, caught off guard. That's all you're going to say. What else is there to say? He replied. It's your life. For a moment, she simply stared at him. No judgment. No disbelief. No fascination with her wealth or status. Just a simple acceptance of her choice. It unsettled her in a way she didn't expect. Where will you go? He asked after a pause. She looked down at her torn dress, her hands, the faint traces of mud still clinging to her skin. Then she glanced out the window at the unfamiliar street, the quiet darkness. I don't know, she admitted. The honesty of it lingered between them. Amir exhaled, then made a decision. We've got a spare room, he said. It's small. Nothing special. She turned to him, surprised. But it's safe, he added. You can stay for the night. Figure things out in the morning. Her eyes widened slightly. You'd let a stranger into your home. He shrugged. You won't be a stranger by morning. For a second, she didn't know how to respond. No one in her world spoke like that. No one offered something without expecting something in return. Okay, she said softly. Just for tonight. Amir nodded, starting the car again. As they pulled away from the dim street lamp, the rain finally began to fade, leaving behind a quiet, uncertain calm. Neither of them spoke, but something had shifted, and somewhere deep down, both of them felt it.